Well, as some of you who actually might care will realize, I haven't been on here for a while. So I've been busy, getting myself a new headset, reality, and also writing a few new parody songs. So you guys can look forward to that. I'm not going to say anything about what they are, but they'll definitely be anime related. So there's your clue for the day. Anyways, I'm going to get right on to it. This is actually a video discussion that I'm having, just pointing forth some evidence and my kind of thoughts on a visual novel by the abbreviation of KS, and the highly debated topic on what is Misha's disability. Misha was not actually one of the main characters that was thought of for the design. She was just brought in by the devs as the interpreter for Shizune, who is the deaf and mute one of the disabled girls. So that's just kind of where we're at, and everyone has been debating on what her actual disability is. The devs don't tell us anything. They simply say, well, it's pretty obvious. And so off that note, I decided to go back through the game and take up any evidence that I could find on what her disability might actually be. And so I'm just going to quickly run through and list a few of those things, and then I'll just discuss a few of the more important topics, and then actually decide on what my guess is at her disability. Okay, excuse me if this is going too fast. I'm just going to start jotting through a few things, then I'm just going to point out the few important topics. Uh, Number one was her hair, her drill hair being pink. I think that really has nothing to do with it, aside from a lot of people believing that she is some sort of cyborg or government project or something or what another. I don't know, I don't care. Because that really has nothing to do with her disability that I'm aware of. Her golden eyes, or I call them more golden, but they're like yellowish. I'm thinking, I'll talk about that in a bit, I'm thinking that might have something to do with it, seeing as the rest of the characters have believable eye colors, but that is, I've never really seen anybody with a golden or yellow eye before. And there's actually a medical issue in that mark, but I'll leave that for now. She's very loud and laughs a lot and likes childish things. So my guess is going towards a mental disability, along with the fact that she doesn't like going to the library, or she's not good at math at all. So once again, pointing at maybe some sort of learning disability or inability to understand such things. She repeats some words twice, and that's pretty obvious throughout it. She kind of stops abruptly with her sentences. And my next little point out is that she doesn't seem to be from the area at all. I'll kind of jot at that in a bit, but I'll leave it as that. She doesn't seem like she's from the area. She might be American, actually. Despite everyone looking American, I mean, this is, after all, a visual novel slash with anime. I mean, all the characters look like they're from America. No one actually looks like they're Japanese anymore. I guess that's just for the viewer's note or something. They like looking at people that look like that. I don't know. Okay. But she does like sweets. She reads horoscopes. She gets dizzy on stairs. And actually, she's only been a translator for a small period of time. As I said, she's been there for only about a year, and she seems to not know every Japanese custom. And she has trouble with the words. So even if it's not a mental disability, her just having trouble, understanding or pronouncing the big words. Technically, she's speaking Japanese here. You're in Japan, even though we're reading in English or German or whatnot. So that kind of points at that she's foreign as well. Or it's the mental disability. It's a back and forth kind of pull and tug issue. So we'll talk about that in a bit too. So that's kind of every note that I took down for her disability from going through the game. So I'll just like to point out a few things now and talk about them in depth, and finally kind of come to my conclusion on what her disability actually is. Well, the first thing I want to disprove quickly is that she is not a professional translator. When she first arrives, as she says, she was just so happened to be placed by Shizune and saw her as a very serious person, so she decided to make friends with her with the little bit of sign language she knew. So she just knew a little bit of it. Also, that comes into contact with that she might be a foreigner. I'll talk about that actually in a bit, but anyways, they became friends then off her little bit of sign language. She probably hasn't been there that long. So that's just kind of a tad at that. So she's not the translator that people thought, that she was hired by Shizune's parents to come in and be the translator for her, or that she's getting to go to school there for free just because she can be a translator. My first part in her being foreign is the second half of the sentence, where the first half I believe is Shizune, most obviously. But the second part I believe is Misha actually talking to Hiso, where she's saying that Japanese people have no fight or flight reflex when he tries to, escape at some point, or he's too darn slow. The second one is her comment about the festival, where she just comments that she's not from this area. I mean, most Japanese places that I'm aware of will hold a festival at one point in time somewhere locally in the area. So this gives me the idea that she's probably from a foreign country. And I don't have a picture for this one, but there's several reference points in which she's saying things about America, or stuff that Americans would do. So that maybe she's from America. But anyways, you like this picture? Because that's exactly where Hiso sits. I think right by the darn window. Once again, the most amazing thing. I'm going to run out of time eventually, so I'm going to have to go faster on these ones. This is just actually a collection of different screenshots from when Misha has a hard time talking at some point or sounding out words. So if you want to pause them, go right ahead. I just want to get into the real meat of my idea. As I said before, Misha constantly signs almost everything that she says, so my only idea is that she's either so used to it by now, even though she only knew a small amount of sign language at the beginning, or she actually has to find a way to do something with her hands constantly. So that's actually a very important point I'd like to make. Her next comment is just that she has a hard time punching in numbers when she's trying to order the Chinese food. So she's used to messing it up, is what Hiso thinks. And I think that as well, is that she just has a hard time punching in those numbers, so she tries to take it slowly. And then also the comment about her either getting dizzy on the stairs, and also that she really can't throw a ball properly. Also another coordination problem, even though a lot of people say she's too fluent with her stuff, with her motions, with her hands for signing. So, what is my verdict on this thing? Well, it's going to be one of three things, possibly. One is that she just likes Hiso too much and that she has all these problems around him, Just basically a case of nervousness or something like that. But then when she first meets him, she's way too eccentric, so I highly doubt that's the case. Even though she seems to be the only one blushing, if you actually zoom in this shot when you're playing the game, she's the only one actually blushing at him. And looking at him in that sincere kind of way. But there's another reason for this shot, and that is to look at these two things. Okay, I'm just going to say the second source could be an autism of some kind, but there's too many different ones for me to go into. I mean, she has some of the ideas about it being dizzy at sometimes, some mental problems, etc., etc. But what I'm more intrigued in is something called Angelman syndrome. Now, this has been rebutted on the forums because of issues that people who have true Angelman syndrome will never really be able to speak in their life whatsoever. They might have very, very small progress, but they wouldn't be able to speak like Misha speaks. However, there's a version called Angelman-like syndrome, in which results from on the X chromosome. Now, females wouldn't express it as much as males. Males would express it fully because they only got one X chromosome. So with females, since they have only one bad copy of it, the other X chromosome is their good copy, will protect them in this case and give them maybe mild symptoms. So she could have trouble with learning disabilities. That's one of the issues with it. And also, this is one most prominent one, is that the uncontrollable laughter that you have to look at with Misha. There's no way you can possibly avoid that in some case. And there's eye abnormalities, which could have to do with the yellow eyes, in which the yellowing of eyes could also be the effect of something called bilirubin, which is a yellow pigment created by the liver at an infant stage. And if this continues to be produced, when it normally would get shut down at the young age, but if it keeps getting produced, it could cause cerebral palsy and hearing loss. So issues that have to do with Misha having to learn sign language. But for the Angelman syndrome, my important piece I want to pull out here is that she's left-handed. People with this type of Angelman syndrome are normally prefer using their left hand. If you look at this shot, Misha is actually a left-hander. And based on population-wise, only 20 or 15% of the world's population are left-handed. So either just by chance this so happens, or she actually has this disability, and that's why she's left-handed. Could just be something that the devs came up with randomly and just decided what will make her left-handed, or they weren't even thinking about it at the time. That's why it's so push and pull on this situation. But anyways, this video is going to be over the limit, so I'll probably leave it at that. If anyone wants to discuss this with me, continue it on the forums, and I'll be there. Or you could Skype me at Newman Productions to have a discussion about it. I mean, it's not the biggest topic in the world, but it certainly is one of the most interesting as we wait for the final release. Hopefully it's not going to be like Asa from Shuffle, in which we find out at the very end that she's part mixed as a demon, and we end up having to slit her wrist and she's got magical powers. I mean, she could. We don't get to see her ears. She could have them hidden under there in their elf ears. I mean, what could I really say? But other than that, take care. See you later.